Hey everyone, welcome back to Game Day Goons. Today we're talking Fantasy Basketball 101. We're diving deep into the world of fantasy hoops. So whether you're a seasoned pro or a complete newbie, this guide will give you the A to Z to learn how to play fantasy basketball. So let's jump right in. Alright, so let's get into it. Ever dreamt of managing LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant? Well, fantasy basketball lets you do just that, but from the comfort of your couch or your phone. You become the GM of your own virtual NBA team, you're drafting real players, and they're scoring points based on real world performances. So if you think you can outsmart your buddies and build a championship squad, then this is your arena. So how does it work? Well, here's how it goes. You draft your players, you set your lineup, you make trades, you watch the stats roll in. Points, rebounds, assists, percentages, stocks, every bit of it counts. And fantasy basketball isn't just a game, it's a strategy war, a number crunching fest, and bragging rights battle royale all rolled into one. So if you're ready to step into the GM shoes, let's get into the nitty gritty and make you a fantasy basketball pro. All right, let's get down to business. You're pumped to start, but wait, what kind of league are you stepping into? Yeah, there is more than one way to play this game, and each has its own flavors. So let's talk about it now. Head to head, rotisserie, points leagues. These are the different kind of leagues you can play in, and I'm gonna break them down for you. First up, head to head. This is the mono on mono of fantasy basketball. This is the kind I like to play where you're matched up against another manager each week, and whoever has the most categories wins the matchup. Simple, right? But here's the kicker. Strategy is key. You've got to know when to play your stars and when to bench them. Next, rotisserie. Think of this as a marathon, not a sprint. You're competing against everyone in your league across multiple categories. Points, rebounds, assists. You get the idea. Your goal, be well-rounded and dominate across the board. This is the long game, folks. And last but not least, points leagues. This is fantasy basketball boiled down to its essence. Players earn points for everything they do on the court. You score a bucket, point. Grab a rebound, more points. It's straightforward, but don't let that fool you. You need a keen eye for talent to come out on top. There are different options for league hosting sites that you can play on. The most popular ones are Yahoo, Fantasy, ESPN, Fantrax, and Sleeper. Now, me, I like Yahoo Fantasy and Sleeper, but I heard Fantrax is pretty good too. There's a new platform coming out soon called Tenement, which actually lets you earn just for playing. So that sounds pretty cool, and I'm looking forward to playing that. So which league is calling your name? Are you a strategic mastermind who loves the weekly battles of head to head? Or are you more of a patient guru? Then you want to maybe play Roto. Are you a straight shooter who loves the simplicity of points leagues? Either way, you got to choose your battlefield wisely because once you're in, it is game on. See, one of the most exhilarating days for any fantasy GM is undoubtedly draft day. It's the moment where your preseason research and strategy come into play. Now let's dive into the most exciting part, drafting your team. This is where legends are made and where dreams are shattered. First off, let's talk format. Ever heard of a snake draft? No, it's not a reptile convention. No, it's not the people in your fantasy league. It's the way you draft your players. So if you pick first in round one, then you'll pick last in round two, and so on. This keeps things fair and balanced. Now, let's get one thing straight. You don't want to be the guy who only drafts big name players. Sure, having LeBron and Giannis is great, but you can't win with just that type of player. You need a balanced team, my friends. Think of it like a rock band. You got your lead guitars, you've also got your drums, and you got your singers, and you got everybody else, and you got your rhythm. So what's the secret sauce? Sleepers and role players. These are the guys who will not make headlines necessarily, but they'll fill up the stat sheet in ways that you didn't expect. They might be specialists. It might be a rookie that has that untapped potential that only you see, or a veteran that has found new life on a different team. Keep your eye out for these gems. They are your ticket to glory. And let's not forget about positions. You can't draft 5 point guards and expect to win. You got to make sure that all your bases are covered: guards, forwards, and centers. Some players have multiple position eligibility. Each of them brings something unique to the table and need a mix to conquer your league. The strategy around what that mix is can also maybe make or break you. Some people like to go for an all-around team. Some people like to go for a team that really specializes in, let's say, efficiency, and maybe they're focused on having high percentages and racking up the stocks and keeping the turnovers down. I mean, right there, you got field goal percentage, free throw percentage, stocks, meaning steals and blocks, and turnovers is 5. That's 5 out of 9 categories. If you can win those every week, I mean, you're a winning team. So that's one strategy. Um, Now, here's the last pro tip: you got to do your homework. I'm talking mock drafts, player rankings, injury reports. The more you know, the better you'll draft. And knowledge is power. And in fantasy basketball, it's the difference between hoisting that virtual trophy and watching it from your sidelines. All right, so that's a crash course in drafting a killer fantasy basketball team. So go on, get out there, draft like a pro. Your future championship is waiting for you. All right, you've drafted your dream team, but don't pop the champagne just yet. Now comes the real chess match: setting your lineup. This isn't a set it and forget it thing. This is active management, especially if you're playing in a league which allows you to set your lineup every single day. Now, some leagues lock the rosters on Monday and you don't get to move them around until the next week. And then there's other leagues that you can adjust the lineups all you want until the games start. The latter is a bit more, requiring active management. That's the kind of league that I like to play. But either way, there is strategy. So let's break it down. First up, starters and bench players. Your starters are your frontline soldiers and the ones that are going to be racking up the points and rebounds and assists. Especially on nights where most teams are scheduled to play, you are going to have some players that are playing in real life that you're going to have to keep on your bench. Now, your bench are your reserves. They're waiting for their moment to shine. Sometimes your bench might be players you just don't play right away. They're rookies who are not getting playing time, or maybe they're injured players who you don't want to drop just yet. But these guys are waiting for their moment to shine, or you hope so, anyways. But how do you decide who's in and out? One word: matchups. If your point guard is going up against somebody who is just a terrible defender, or a team that just allows other teams to drop 130 on them every night, you want to probably start that point guard. But if your center is going up against Joel Embiid, but your center is built like a twig, you might want to be careful, because Joel Embiid is about to lock him down, and you got to be able to predict that. But on the flip side, the surprises do happen. So you gotta have that intuition about you. You gotta be able to read the scouting reports and have a strategy in mind, and you'll see the points roll in. Now, injuries. This is the dreaded I word. Always, and I mean always, check the injury reports. A player can't score if he's in a suit on the sidelines. You want to swap him out and avoid the 0 point heartbreak. Also, sometimes coaches will sit their star players just to rest them. I mean, this year in the NBA, there are going to be rules against that. They call that load management, and apparently the NBA is releasing new rules to avoid that. So guys like Kawhi Leonard will have to play, but nonetheless, be vigilant about that, because if you're rostering guys who are being load managed or who are legitimately injured, and you're leaving players who are active and playing that day, but they're on your bench, that is not a formula for success. So, be aware. And then don't forget about game schedule. Some players might have 4 games in that week, while others might have 2. More games mean more opportunities to rack up those fantasy points. So you want to be smart and strategic. You want to keep an eye on the calendar. Last but certainly not least, you want to listen to your gut. If you believe in yourself, sometimes the stats and experts won't have all the answers. If you've got a hunch about a player, you want to roll the dice. It's your team, it's your call. So there you have it: the art and science of setting your fantasy basketball lineup. It's a weekly puzzle, and the better you get at it, the closer you'll get to fantasy stardom. So go set your lineup and make some noise. I want to take this opportunity to remind you guys that it means a lot to us if you can hit the subscribe button down below. Game the Goons is just getting off the ground. We're trying to get our subscriber count up. We're trying to get monetized. We're trying to get a big core group of fans who can follow our journey, and we can help you guys too with fantasy advice and anything else that comes our way. So make sure you comment below, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up. It means a lot to us, more than you know. We appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. You're a few weeks into the season and you're starting to see the chinks in your armor. Maybe your point guard has more turnovers than assists, or maybe your center is collecting fouls like their Pokemon. Don't hit the panic button, hit the trade market or the waiver wire. Let's dive into how to do those things. First of all, trading. Trading is an art form, a delicate dance of give and take. You want to improve your team without robbing the bank, and you definitely don't want to be the guy who lowballs everyone. So how do you do it? Well, you start with a fair offer. Look for mutual needs. Maybe you're stacked at guard and need a big man, and maybe your trade partner has the opposite problem. That's the formula for a win-win waiting to happen. But remember, fair is subjective. You got to use stats, not just names, to make a case. Relationships are important, so understand who you're negotiating with. If you got to do a little bit of small talking, cool. If you've got to, set the stage for them and really write out a paragraph just to make sure they understand the situation, you'll know how to manage that best. You got to know your personnel. And negotiation is key. Don't just fire off a trade and ghost. Send a message, explain your thinking, and be open to counter offers. A little charm goes a long way in avoiding burning bridges. At the same time, well, sometimes there is an art form in going high while they go low, or vice versa, and then meeting in the middle. Now, waivers. This is where you can find the hidden gems that everyone else has overlooked. Keep an eye on minutes, matchups, and hot streaks, but be strategic with your waiver priority. If a player is not a free agent and they're on the waivers, you don't want to waste your waiver priority or your FAB. Some leagues have waiver priority where if you have gone and put a bid in on a player who is on waivers currently, and you win that waiver bid, well, you're going to go from being, let's say, theoretically first in the waiver priority to last, and you got to wait for everybody else in your league to kind of make their waiver pickup before you get waiver priority at the top again. Other leagues have FAB budgets. This is kind of like a salary cap. Sometimes they're $100, sometimes they're $1,000. You have to decide how much of that budget are you willing to spend on players who are on waivers. Now, sometimes, and more often than not, players are simply free agents and you can just pick them up. It won't cost you waiver priority or FAB, but you got to know the difference. You don't want to waste it on a one-hit wonder. You don't want to waste it on a player who's not going to help. You want to save this stuff for players who can make a lasting impact. Even if it's not today, it might be for the playoffs. And here's a pro tip. Timing is everything. Make moves that happen, in a savvy manner. Sometimes right before game time, other managers in your league are already locked in. They're having dinner or they're asleep. That's when you'll find the best unclaimed talent. Maybe in real life, a coach had a late scratch. The starting shooting guard has an injury or got sick or what have you. So in that case, the player who is backing him up in real life is probably going to start. And if you need a player for that night, this might be who you want to go pick up from the wire, from the free agent pool. So you got to be diligent, and trading and waivers aren't just about plugging holes. They're about seizing opportunities to make your team unstoppable. So get out there, make some deals, and claim that championship. All right, so here we are. You've drafted your team, you've set your lineups, you've even made a few savvy trades. But how do you know if you're actually winning? Let's talk about the scorecard of fantasy basketball, your KPI, your key performance indicators. That is your scoring and your standings. First of all, scoring. Whether you're in a points league, a head-to-head, or a rotisserie league, you've got to know how to rack up those sweet, sweet fantasy points. In points leagues, it's straightforward. Points, rebounds, assists, they all add up. But be aware of negative stats like turnovers. They can be a silent killer. Guys like Russell Westbrook will get you those counting stats. We know he can be a nightly triple double, but he can also bury you when it comes to turnovers and field goal percentage. So you want to construct your lineup very, very savvy in that regard, and keep an eye on those things. This is especially true in head-to-head. You're squaring off against another team each week, and the categories you're competing in can vary, but the goal is still the same. The more categories that you have than your opponent, the more likely it is that you're going to win. It's like a 7-game series every single week. Rotisserie, think of that as a marathon, not a sprint. You're ranked in each category, and your ranks are totaled up. So the higher your total, the better you're doing at it. But remember, neglecting one category can drag you down faster than a lead balloon. On the other hand, it might be strategic to neglect that one category or two categories. This is called a punt strategy. And so I'll go back to the example of rostering a guy like Russell Westbrook. If you're doing that, you might want to consider punting field goal percentage. And if you're punting field goal percentage, then maybe it's in your best interest to go and draft a guy like Jordan Poole, who's going to get you 25 points a game as well, right? But he's going to have, a poor field goal percentage. Or a guy like Fred VanVleet, again, great in many categories, awful in field goal percentages. And if you have all three of these guys in your roster, well, you're going to lose field goal percentage almost every single week, but you have a pretty good chance of winning some of the other categories. So this is part of the game within the game, if you will. Now let's talk standings. This is your report card, your leaderboard that tells you if you're the fantasy genius that you think you are. You want to check that often, but don't obsess about it. Standings can be deceiving, especially early on. A slow start can turn into a late season surge, and vice versa. You see this often with veterans who get out the gate slow. A lot of other managers in your league, they may be impatient, and they might consider dropping this player, or if they don't drop them, they might be willing to sell them for cheap. So you can go in and make a trade for these players who are underperforming now and get a great deal on them. You'll maybe get them for like 50 cents on the dollar, and you'll be rewarded for your foresight later in the season as these guys kind of pick up. The same can be true on the other end of the spectrum. Sometimes players come out the gate super fast and really fizzle out as the season goes on. Maybe they get into the doghouse with a coach, or they encounter a nagging injury, and it hurts them as the season goes on. So, you want to stick to your strategy. You want to be patient, but not too patient. Of course, you want to be flexible in the sense that you're able to adjust on the fly. At the end of the day, especially if your league rewards not only winning the championship, but perhaps winning first place in the regular season, and if you've got your league put down money, then there might be a cash prize associated with finishing first place in the season. So this also fits into how you want to strategize around building your team and the moves that you want to make. Anyways, one last thing: tiebreakers. You got to know the rules, whether it's head-to-head record or total points or some other metric. Tiebreakers can sometimes be the difference between making the playoffs and watching from the sidelines. It sucks when you're on the losing end of that, so be aware of that. And there you have it. Scoring and standings are your roadmap to victory. You want to know them inside out, and then you won't just play the game. Hopefully you'll dominate it. Holy moly, you made it through the grind of the regular season. You did all right. You placed somewhere in the top 8. You made the playoffs. Welcome to the grind. This is where legends are made and where dreams are shattered. So, how do you go from playoff contender to fantasy champion? Let's break it down. First of all, preparation is key. You've got to know your playoff schedule like the back of your hand. Which players have the most games during these crucial weeks, the 3 or 4 weeks of the playoffs? Who's facing weak defenses? This is a time to be a matchup maestro in terms of knowing who's playing, how many games during the playoffs. This is something you probably want to look at the trade deadline. The trade deadline is oftentimes a month, maybe 2 months before the playoffs. You can go onto some of these websites, let's say like hashtag basketball, and look at the fantasy playoff matchup planner. If you can find a player on your team that maybe is playing 2 games and 3 games for every round of the fantasy playoffs, this guy, as good as he might be in terms of stats, you can't accumulate stats if you're not playing that many games, right? And if you're, let's just say you're playing 2, 3, 2, and 3, that's 10 games over 4 weeks versus a guy who might be playing 4, 3, 4, 4, which would be like 15 games. So that's a pretty big difference right there. So you want to go and maybe trade for those guys who have a better playoff schedule for and exchange them for the guys on your team who don't. There are going to be those GMs in your league who just don't care about those things, and you got to know what the motivation of those GMs are. Maybe they're just scrapping to make the playoffs, and you're well set. You're going to make the playoffs. This is the kind of guys you want to target now because they're thirsty, and you can maybe offer them a guy who on your team who is healthy with a bad playoff matchup for a guy on his team who might have maybe an injury or maybe he's underperforming a little bit, and he has a great playoff schedule, and this might be a deal you can benefit from in the long run. Now let's talk strategy in the playoffs. In the playoffs, every decision is magnified. That sleeper pick you've been holding on to all season, it's time to unleash them at this point, especially if the matchup is right. And those consistent players who've gotten you this far, that's your backbone. Stick with them. Be loyal. Be humble. But what you've got to remember is injuries. This is where your waiver wire skills come into play. Once the playoffs roll around, most likely the trade deadline has passed, so you got to know how to scour that free agent pool for those hidden gems that can give you a leg up. We've talked about how to do that. And don't forget, other teams will be doing the same. You got to be quick on the draw because a lot of the other managers who made the playoffs with you, they're probably sharper than the ones who didn't make it. So the stakes are only getting higher now, and iron sharpens iron. Like I said, trade deadlines are probably over by now, but if they're not, this is your last chance to make a blockbuster move. Just remember, desperation trades rarely work out. Be calculated, not reckless. Don't be desp. All right, you made it to the championship round now. Cool. This is the moment you've been waiting for. Stick to your guns, trust your gut, and may the fantasy gods be ever in your favor. Your strategy shouldn't change drastically. After all, it got you here. But do pay attention to the details, last minute injuries, game time decisions, and so on. We've talked about this already. So win or lose, remember this. The journey is just as important as the destination. You've strategized, you've agonized, and you've celebrated. That's what fantasy basketball is all about. So gear up, lock in, and go claim that championship trophy. After all, in the world of fantasy basketball, legends aren't born, they're drafted. All right, you've got the basics down, but let's not stop there. We're going to dive into the nitty gritty, the tips and tricks that separate the casual players from the fantasy gurus. Listen up, this is the good stuff. First of all, let's talk about the IL or IL plus slots if your league has them. These are your injured list slots, and they're not just for show. Some leagues have IL, some leagues have IL plus. IL is for players who are literally on the injured list, whereas IL plus might allow for game time decisions or players who have designations like COVID. Some leagues have one IL, some leagues have two, some even have three. You got to know how many yours has, and you got to know if you can add players straight off the wire onto your IL, or if they have to be on your lineup first before you can put them into your waiver onto your IL spot. So they're definitely not for show. And if you've got a star player who's out for a couple of weeks, you definitely don't want to drop them. Of course, you want to take this opportunity to stash them on your IL. The same applies if you find a player that was dropped by an impatient manager and is now on your waiver wire. It might be that this player is injured and that manager is impatient. You can go and pick up this player and stash them on your IL and wait for them to get healthy. This will give you an advantage later in the year, and it's not going to cost you a roster spot. Again, this IL spot is just so you can free up that roster spot for players who are active. Now, if you have a lot of injuries, that's when you maybe want to start thinking about dropping players, but try to be as patient as possible and keep racking up those points. Now, speaking of stashing players, this is an art form, and honestly, the best fantasy players are very good at stashing players. Sometimes you'll see a player who is underperforming but has a ton of potential. Stash them. Keep them on your bench, keep them on your aisle, and wait for them to heat up. Patience is a virtue, and in fantasy basketball, it can be a winning strategy. All right, let's get tech savvy. If you're serious about winning, you probably should be using analytics tools. Purists will say they don't use it, but if the best fantasy players in your league are saying they're not using it, most likely they're lying. So you can use websites like Fantasy Pros or maybe more underground grassroots ones like hashtag basketball. These sites will integrate with your fantasy hosting website. So if you use Sleeper or Yahoo, whatever, the APIs will connect, and you'll be able to analyze with in-depth stats and projections, and they'll be able to give you advice perhaps on who to add, how to navigate your matchups, and so forth. This could give you the upper hand. So another thing is, if you want to know if a player is a sell high or a buy low candidate, these sites will have you covered. But don't just set your lineup and forget it. Be proactive. Last minute lineup changes can be a lifesaver. Keep an eye on player statuses right up until game time. A surprise inactive player can ruin your week, but a last minute addition can win it. And one more thing, negotiating trades. Listen, nobody likes a lowball offer, so be fair and also be firm. Use stats to back up your proposals and be open to counter offers. A good trade should benefit both parties, so don't be that guy who sends lopsided offers all the time. Trust me, that won't win you any friends or championships. Relationships matter when it comes down to this. So there you have it. These tips and tricks are your secret sauce, your ace in the hole. Use them wisely. You won't just play the game, you'll dominate it. And that's a wrap. You're now equipped with the knowledge to dive into fantasy basketball after watching this tutorial. If you found this guide helpful, please make sure to hit the like button, smash the subscribe button, and you'll get more awesome content. Until next time, keep balling. And if you have any questions, drop them in the chat below. We'll be happy to answer them. Peace.